Hey, this is Phil Endress with Baseball Card Exchange and the BBC podcast, and we're here today, and we're going to be talking about breaking. That's right, breaking, opening cards on live venue, whether it be YouTube, whether it be our Fanatics Live account, whether it be anything. BBCE is into breaking. Billy is here. Tim is here from the retail store. And Billy, you've spearheaded this project of breaking. Before we dive into that, just kind of bring the whole breaking scenario into focus. I mean, I'm 45. This is not what I had when I was a kid. I mean, the whole idea of the thing was that I could open the back. And, you know, back in the day, you know, boxes were so much cheaper. So and even then I was like, I don't know if I should open this. This is a lot of money. But then, you know, you'd see the cool card that you'd pull in a card shop, and I mean, it made your day. I remember in 92, 93, opening up one of the 92, I think 93 Hoops boxes, and I got one of the Magic All-Rookie Team cards, Shaquille O'Neal.
Okay.
And, of course, the card dealer, the card shop owner swooped in and was like, hey, I'll give you another box if you give me that card. I took another box, didn't get anything. But, you know, that was the idea of opening the box and feeling the rush of getting your favorite player, your favorite team. And now the idea of opening and watching someone else rip your pack was, man, that was kind of foreign to me. But it is the rage.
It is. It's huge in the industry nowadays. I mean, that kind of dominates the modern market in collecting.
Right.
So, you know, and I think honestly, breaking probably would have worked at almost any point in the industry, because I think it really appeals to team collectors, specific player collectors. You know, there's a lot of people that don't want to open a box. They just go, well, I want all the Cubs cards that are in that box. So if they're going to spend $300, they'd rather buy $300 worth of Cubs spots than roll the dice on one box for $300, and they might get a handful of Cubs cards.
Right.
So I think that you appeal to a lot of different collectors, and there is also that really cool, you know, community feel to it. You know, I mean, whether it was when we were doing it on Facebook, you know, the apps now that they're, you know, Fanatics Live is where we do 99% of our breaking nowadays. You know, you have this chat of people who are kind of cheering you on, and it's people you don't even really know. It's just a bunch of like-minded people that are having fun seeing cards get opened.
Right. You know, and it's a good point that you made. What I noticed, you know, when I was a kid, there was quite a few hobby shops around. Matter of fact, at one particular time in the small city that I live in, 30,000 people or less, there was 4 hobby shops. 4 hobby shops. And, you know, every one of them basically had the same thing. The strike of 94, baseball, it affected the hobby. It affected the hobby big time. And for the next course of 15, 20 years, hobby shops were drastically dropping. And sometimes you'd only have one hobby shop in a 100-mile radius to serve a certain community.
Yep.
So now you can't get those products that you want. And then breaking becomes possible because now all you have to do is get online, and that online breaking card shop that's 1,000 miles away is actually your own hobby shop.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we have people all the time that, you know, on there will ask for, you know, people will want personal boxes, you know, and it might be A, like you said, they don't have a hobby shop within driving distance. B, maybe their hobby shop sold out of it and they're like, I wanted a couple more boxes of it. Do you guys have it? I'll buy it, you know, on Fanatics Live or whatever the platform is. And yes, we open it live for them, but, you know, a lot of people, I think they enjoy seeing the cards get open. And like I said, they enjoy that community of people being there to watch it, and you get a big hit and there's that excitement and everybody's, oh my God, I can't believe you got that type of, you know, thing. So it's, yeah, I mean, it's having thousands of online hobby shops at your fingertips at all times.
Cool. I mean, it's pretty cool. You know, as a kid, I would have loved to see this.
Oh yeah.
You know, it would have been awesome to know what other people are opening and getting. And you don't even have to put money in when you're watching other people opening it.
Yeah, I mean, we're always amazed how many people will, you know, just come in and they hang out in the room, and it's our regulars, but sometimes the regulars, you're like, they don't really spend any money, but they're always there talking to, you know, Ben and James, or who do the breaking themselves. You know, they're the two on-air talent or whatever term you want to use. And, you know, I mean, they have people that they talk to all the time, and, you know, they met them just through going live and you start striking up a conversation in the chat, and
Right.
then before you know it, they're texting them or messaging them on the app and all that type of stuff. So we've actually come to know a lot of good customers and friends
awesome.
at this point through it.
So what made BBCE throw their hat in the ring of seriously doing breaking, and what kind of work went into it? What all did it involve?
So we've had BBCE Breaks now since I think 2018 is when we kind of started doing it. And it was right around when, breaking was still a couple years old at that point. It's not like it was this new concept that we got in at the ground floor or anything. But, we just figured at the time it was kind of, throw your hat into it and see what you can do. And at that point, it was a lot easier. Everybody did it on Facebook. There was some that did YouTube, but you didn't really have Whatnot and Fanatics Live and these apps now where people are streaming all the time. So you made a Facebook group. You said, we're going to break a case of 2018 Contenders football. Here's the spot price. You'd sell 32 spots, and it was fairly simple because, when it sold out, you went live. You weren't sitting there waiting for it to fill at that point. And, we kind of, we did that. And then, as we always have our hands in 100 different things
Sure.
at Baseball Card Exchange. So, we kind of, breaking kind of fell on the back burner for a little bit, and then COVID hit. And COVID changed the game completely in the industry. And I remember talking to Steve when it hit, and, there was kind of that thought, kind of like you said with the strike, like, this is going to kill the industry. There's no sports on. Who's going to want sports cards when there's no sports to watch? Like,
Right.
sports is out of sight, out of mind. So we started doing the Facebook breaks again, and almost as I wanted it because I was bored sitting at home and needed something to do to keep myself
Right.
busy. But also, it was like, we have all this product on the shelf that even when you reopen, who knows when, you can reopen your doors, this stuff's going to be stale at that point, right? Because they're still producing cards. So maybe 2020 Topps Chrome isn't desirable anymore if 2021 is coming out when you finally get people coming back to the shop. So it was kind of twofold. And then, breaking during COVID, I think, you were with us at that time. And, Tim used to buy in as a customer at that point. It was just nonstop. I did it Friday, Saturday, Sundays because I was still full-time in education. And, we were doing, 15, 20 breaks a weekend. It was just boom, 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 nonstop selling. And then we opened the retail store, and we figured, we have this great space now. We have, we had Tim on board. Joe was with us at the time. We had a team of people that were like, all right, we're confident, we can take this on. But it's a huge undertaking. Anybody
Right.
who does breaking knows it made sense to me even more so when we got on Fanatics Live, why you see a lot of breaking companies that either have a very small retail presence or just don't even push having a retail storefront because the breaking is
Intense.
It's
There's a lot that goes.
It's
and we haven't-
24/8.
and we haven't even talked about the shipping.
Yes.
and those type of logistics, and not only that, not just the shipping, but then the space. You have to have some space.
Yes.
To organize everything. The cards that are, you have to be very careful. Make sure that you don't mix up
Yeah.
cards that are should go here and there. And then not only that, just the shipping products.
Yes.
You have to have boxes to mail these things, bubble envelopes.
Yep.
Tell us a little about the shipping process, the logistics of the BBCE Breaks.
Yeah. So I'm going to go to Tim on that one. Tim is our hero on the shipping front, and I don't know how he does it because he will sit there and sort cases for hours a day where my eyes would be cross-eyed at that point. So Tim knows way more about the shipping than me, so I'll let him handle that one.
Yeah, the shipping, it took a little bit to kind of get used to and kind of get like a good system in place so we can kind of like make sure, like you said, there was no hiccups or anything gone missing kind of thing like that. Yeah, I never really mind like sorting my own stuff, so that just kind of
Pretty natural.
Yeah, it's just pretty natural. It was just something I can get paid to do, so I mean,
There you
why
go.
not? So
There you go.
But yeah, like it took me a little bit to kind of get in my groove, but now I've gotten to the point where, which I call it, depending on how much we break in a day, I can usually knock out like a couple breaks. If like over the weekends,
Wow.
I can usually knock out like Friday, Saturday, Sundays, depending on how much it is.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a system down to where like I'll know exactly if somebody gets like a certain team, I can verify whether or not, hey, it's like this all is just gonna go in one team bag, or if I can kind of like
Sure.
finagle it to something else. But Yeah, it's just a lot of time and repetitive, and finally I kind of feel like I've gotten myself in a nice little groove with it.
Yeah, and pretty much like anything, the more you
Yeah.
do it, the better you get at it, the more efficient
He
you
has
become.
He has a very good system down. I mean, I know he won't brag about it, but to put it into perspective, we did last year when Series 1 came out, or this year's when Series 1 came out, we did 22 cases of Series 1 Jumbo.
Okay.
Now, that's, what, $6 a case? What is it, 420 cards a box? So you're talking 2,400 cards. So 22 cases with each case having that many cards in a 3-day span. And Tim had them out in 2 days for shipping.
Wow. That's really
So
good.
it's, it's almost hard now to hire people for the sorting and shipping because I feel like Tim has
Sure.
gotten such a good system down where it's hard to teach that system and that organization.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it's a big undertaking on the shipping side for sure. The breaking is the easy part. That's,
Absolutely.
Ben and James will tell you that,
Yeah.
people think being on air is the hard part. It's the back end work. That's
No,
the time
absolutely.
consuming.
Absolutely. I mean, complete. And then, with that many cards, you can make a mistake too. And so you really, I mean, it's
Yeah.
not just something where you can just sit back. You've got to have a constant thought process going on, constant
Yep.
just caution, if you will, of making sure that you keep things in the right place. So, all right, let's talk about our breakers. They're not here with us today. Maybe we'll get them on in one of these
Definitely.
shows. But talk about the process of finding breakers. Let's talk about the process of what their day is like and just what they talk about.
Yeah, so James was the first breaker we brought on. When we first started on Fanatics Live, I was doing a lot of it, and I'm not a live selling personality, and especially with everything with the retail store, it was too much to take on. So I went to Steve pretty quickly and said, we got to hire somebody for this. And James is somebody who used to come to the storefront. He had a Facebook group at the time that he, not a huge group, but he did some breaks, so I knew he had experience with it. And so we talked to James and we brought James on, and that really helped us on Fanatics Live because it gave us that 40-hour-a-week consistency
Right.
that James was going to be live for 40 hours a week. And he, we got a schedule and we started getting the regulars. And then we kind of noticed, with the amount that we were doing and product was increasing allocation-wise, you needed another one. And so that's when we brought Ben on, and he had come in a couple times asking about it. And it was kind of one of those things, he'd come in and I go, oh, yeah, email me. And then it'd be, out of sight, out of mind. And then finally one night, I think a trade night, he was in here and he mentioned it, and James just happened to be standing there. I was like, James, set something up with him, have him come in. And I mean, and Ben has been incredible. I mean, we really couldn't be happier with Ben and James. They're both great guys. They're very focused on, community and making sure that they give every collector a great experience. And, kind of like you said earlier, like, when it comes to the sorting and the shipping, like mistakes are going to happen.
No, right.
You're dealing with case after case. There's going to be cards that get shipped to the wrong person, but Ben and James are great about what can we do to make this right for you. And, so we really couldn't ask for anything more with the breakers we have on. And, we're currently looking to hire additional ones with the big move coming up.
That's it. We need some more, right?
Yep.
But let's talk about this. This is important because this is something that our company has always been very consistent about, and it's number one, and that is integrity. And of course, that's led by Steve Hart, the owner. Not a better guy that I know of in the industry. Breaking is somebody trusting you. They're trusting you to open their product, and to be legit and to be above board, and certainly not expecting any unscrupulous behavior. And that's one thing when we talk about breakers, we want integrity. And,
Without a doubt.
Maybe you could talk about just what we do to make sure that we perform at the highest level of integrity that any company can in breaking.
I mean, we're, like you said, we're very picky when it comes to, who we hire, especially on the breaking end, because, you hear these horror stories on social media, or, look what happened on, this breaking channel, or, a card got stolen, this and that. So you do have to be very careful with who you bring on. But, Tim, our biggest thing is we have cameras everywhere.
Yeah, there you go.
So, let's just, call a spade a spade. That's the one biggest deterrent is I think the breaking room we have right now. There's 4 cameras in there, and it's a 12 by 12 room. So there's not really much you can do. And then, I think we have 2 cameras on the shipping at all times. So,
but in spite of that, James and Ben, they would never take anything.
Yep.
And no one at this place of employment would ever do that as well. They're genuinely happy when somebody hits something.
Yes.
And so go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, I think just being picky with who we bring on, that's the best answer I can give you is, we've brought people on and, given test runs, and sometimes we get that I don't think so vibe. And,
sure,
you go on to the next person until you get the people that, you feel like I can trust this person. They're, you can tell from their on-air personality, how they're treating people, how they're talking to the customers. And that's really all it boils down to for us on that end is just, proving to us that you have that same level of integrity that you talked about Steve having on, how he started the business. And, that's how it goes back to, me and Tim have both done sorting and shipping. We've both made mistakes, and it's what can we do to make it up to you? And, how can we, keep you as a customer? And that's the biggest part of it is, you make people feel like, like you really value their, them being a customer, which you do.
Absolutely. And that's, I've tuned in several times, and just to watch for a little bit. And it's fun to watch their interaction. Very knowledgeable too. Like they're opening a Bowman product and they know who these guys are, these 17-year-old kids.
And I think that's a big, they've gotten that compliment a lot, is there are some breakers out there where it's just, I'm just opening up the next product and I don't have knowledge of that product. And we've always been very big on, we want to have knowledge of what we're selling people.
Sure.
We get offered soccer, we get offered UFC, we get offered F1, and we've always kind of steered away of those on the Bowman, or on the, not the Bowman side, the breaking side, because we've always felt like we're not going to know. Like you have to seem knowledgeable. That's part of the experience, right? It's like you said, you're breaking Bowman and it's, man, this guy's talking about some kid in high A ball for the Rockies and why this is a good pull. And
from the Dominican Republic.
Yes. And he just turned 16. So, but it adds to it. And that's something Ben and James are both great with is they'll, even when they don't know a sport or a product in particular, they research it. And the next day they're coming in and they're naming names off that I've never even heard of. And so they take a lot of pride in their work, and that adds to the experience of what BBCE Breaks is.
Absolutely. So let's ask this question. We're on the Fanatics Live platform.
Yep.
And we've been on that platform how long?
We've been on there since it started. So that started in 2023. We were actually, I believe we were the first break, which was the 86 Fleer break at the National that we did with Allen Iverson and Michael Rubin and Scott Rogowski.
Oh, yeah.
So that was kind of their launch of the app. So we've been on there since day one, and that was something that we've always been really proud of being partnered with them since day one of the app going live.
Yeah. So how many years now is that?
That was July of 23, right? Because of the National.
So we're going on 2 years.
Yep.
2 years being
Next
on the
month is 2
Fanatics
years.
Live platform. And do we have some of the same clientele? Same.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have quite a bit of our regulars. And you met some of them, I'm sure, last year at the event that we did, and we'll have even more of them there this year. So we've been able to keep a lot of our regulars. We've picked up a lot of regulars along the way, and that's all thanks to, Ben and James, what they do live, and then Tim on the shipping end. I mean, we have people in the chat all the time that joke, I think the break just ended and my package just got delivered because they're used to how quickly Tim gets stuff out. So
yeah, well, let's also talk about this because Billy's not going to talk about himself. Billy's done a fantastic job of spearheading and coordinating the retail store. One, I mean, you come in, it's beautiful. That's one thing. Then secondly, I mean, just Fanatics Live, and I know the work behind the scenes work that he's had. I probably know only a quarter of the work, and that was a quarter too much for me of the work that took to get a Fanatics Live account, to start it, and just to find breakers to help get the system together. Without that attention to detail, I mean, my goodness, we're not getting this off the ground. Steve's not doing this. Rick's not doing this. I sure as heck am not doing this. But Billy, you've done a fantastic job, and
appreciate it.
Just by what we have going on here at the store. I mean, that's not happening without Billy, and of course the team that he's gotten together, the Breakers, Tim's, shipping. As a matter of fact, my daughter even shipped
Yes.
for a little
Yep.
while.
Kirsten was an animal with the shipping. She was awesome. We need her back.
Yeah. She showed me like this little sorting thing that she had, and I mean, till this day, she still has every team. Her system probably was a little different than your system, but she had everything like memorized in her mind. She was like a little. I was a little concerned her doing it because I'm like, you cannot make mistakes.
I don't think we ever had a mistake with Kirsten. She was spot on with everything. But yeah, I mean, that's, that kind of goes back to what I said earlier. Like, shipping is hard to.
Yeah.
It's hard to find breakers because you need that on-air personality, and not everybody wants a camera on them at all times, filming them. But then the shipping too, because like Tim talked about earlier, everybody has their own system. And then when you bring 3 people in who all have their own system, and you try to get them all to work on one, break or one shipment, that's where the confusion comes in. So that's why, it's great right now that Tim does all of our shipping, because Tim has everything organized in his way, and he knows where everything is. And I know he hates when I come over and I start picking through a box or looking, because it sure drives him up a wall.
Tim, you're like the Rick of the BBCE Retail Store. That's you got your own system, and that's how you limit mistakes. That's how you minimize mistakes, is sticking to that. So yeah, that makes sense. So it's fun tuning into BBC. Why don't you give us a little rundown of how they can find us? If someone's like, hey, I don't know anything about breaking, this sounds fun, how can I find the BBC Breaks on the Fanatics?
Yep. So all of our modern products, so everything tops, is going to be done on Fanatics Live. You go to the Fanatics Live app, download it, and we are BBCE Breaks on there. You go to our profile, you can follow us. It'll have our show schedule. Tomorrow is a big one. Series 2 tops comes out. I think Series 1 between Hobby and Jumbo, we did 62 cases of that, I think. So
you're going to be doing more shipping.
Unfortunately.
Get ready.
So that's a great one, for team collectors. If you're just trying to jump into breaking, maybe test the waters on it, Flagship is a great way to do it. And then everything else, as you guys talked about in another episode, we just got on eBay Live. Not breaking on there, but single selling has been crazy lately. So you can also follow Baseball Card Exchange on eBay Live. And we might do some vintage breaks on there, I think, is our goal to work into, kind of what we used to do on Facebook. Some of that older wax that people like.
Yeah, people love that stuff. I'll be definitely tuning into that.
Yep.
It's cool. Not many inserts, but just very cool cards.
Yes, people love it.
Yeah, and right now, we do have another episode. You can check it out in our YouTube channel. We have an episode on the eBay Live, and Steve Hart's actually doing the shows right now. Like, he's doing them just about, 3 or 4 or 5 a week.
He's done every single eBay Live show that we've had. It's been Steve Hart.
Yeah, and for those of you that have never met him, it's a good way to kind of get to know him. He's smart, he's witty, he's funny, and he's completely honest. Check out the eBay Live.
Yeah, especially vintage. I don't think you could buy from a more trustworthy source on a live seller right now than Steve doing the Baseball Card Exchange on eBay Live. He's giving you every corner, every edge, grade of what he thinks it is, and he'll catch stuff sometimes, I feel like, mid showing the card and go, well, it's not a near mint anymore. I just noticed this has a small crease. But he's honest with people. He's not going to sell it off as near mint if he knows you're going to get it in hand and go, it's
bottom
a
Bottom line is we don't want returns.
Yes.
Right? And the way you limit returns is you're just honest about the product you're selling, as honest as you possibly can be. Sometimes you're going to not see a crease, or sometimes you're not going to see whatever. And of course, that happens. But 99% of the time or more, it's going to be 100% accurately. I kind of felt like the Anchorman. Is that the Anchorman? Like that movie? 60% of the time,
100
times.
Yes.
So so check out the eBay Live, and then let's talk about this real quick as we're coming to a close. We're expanding. We're expanding.
Yes. Very
Talk about the
exciting
expansion a little bit, because we're like neck deep in it right now.
Yes, we are almost finished. So we're opening up. It's just a new breaking facility. So no storefront, nothing open to the public at this one. But kind of going back to one of the first points you made was we ran out of space very quickly for breaking. When we got on Fanatics Live, we have our one studio back here. We do all of our shipping behind this side of the wall. And, you want to minimize those mistakes. And when you have that much product, you're putting stuff on shelves and it's organized, but we were like, we need more space. And then
For sure.
really excited about the next, 8 months probably in the hobby. Fanatics getting Topps October 1st, or not getting Topps basketball.
Right.
And then shortly after the Super Bowl, they'll get football.
Wow.
So being a direct account on the breaking end, we'll see a really big increase in the product that we're getting. And so we're anticipating that the new place will have at least 3 studios. Right now we're working out of 1. So we'll be able to run multiple streams at a time. We'll have 3 times the space for shipping. So we're excited that in the next, 8 months, we'll really see BBCE Breaks hopefully go to that next level.
So this new place is kind of like the Area 51. It's going to be a place that exists, but nobody really knows where it's at.
Exactly.
It's it's at an undisclosed location.
Yep.
And that's where they'll be coming live from. And so, again, so if you're a breaker listening to this, if you're honest, if you're fair, you love sports, you have a little bit of knowledge, you have some integrity, hook up, send an email, give us a phone call. We will talk to you. Looking to hire you. You'll have to talk to Billy about that.
Yep. Yeah, you can email that's bbcexchangeretail@gmail.com is where resumes, letters of interest, all that stuff can get sent into.
Yeah, and so we're probably hiring for more than breakers, right?
Breakers, shippers, sorters.
Yeah.
If you're more interested in doing the eBay Live where you're just selling singles and it's, very much you're doing something at all times, we're looking for everything right now.
So we're planning, we're plotting for the future.
Yes, as Rick tells me, we are always hiring. If you're the right person, we are always hiring at Baseball Card Exchange.
That's right. Good workers are hard to find. I think that's what it is, right?
Yes.
Well, hey, that's the BBC Breaks in a nutshell. And we're definitely going to be doing other episodes about BBC Breaks, giving you some cool updates.
Definitely.
It'd really be cool to have an episode where we talk about all the great breaks. Maybe we rank the top 10 breaks, or the top 20 of BBCE Breaks in the past year or the past 2 years. Maybe we can catch up from the 2 years and do an expanded episode.
That would be fun to do. Definitely with Ben and James on it, though.
Yeah, we got to do Ben and James, get them in here. But hey, I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode on the BBCE Breaks. Billy, Tim, thanks for being with me today.
Yes, thank you.
On the BBCE podcast. We'll do it again. See you soon. Take care.